Hi girls, this is a video about graphs of exponential functions. So here we're looking at a general equation, y equals a to the power of x minus c plus d, and looking at what happens to the a, the c and the d when we change those numbers around. So starting at the top with a c, the c controls the horizontal translation of the graph. So in other words, whether the graph is here or here or here. So it looks the same, it's just shifted horizontally this way. And that is what the C does. Now the D controls the vertical translation, whether the graph's here or here or here. That's what the D graph does. Now the A controls the steepness, whether the graph looks like this or this or this. That's the steepness. So sometimes we put all those things together and we have a graph that's steep or not so steep, that's moved horizontally and also moved vertically. So on the screen we've got Desmos and the function y equals a x minus 2 plus d, and we're moving the a value to see what happens to the graph. And you can see as a gets bigger, we get steeper, and as a gets smaller, we get shallower. Now if a gets into one of the negative or the smaller numbers, it disappears off this screen completely because the screen is too small. But when we bring it back up into the numbers that appear on the screen, then we've got the fractions are in here. Fractions or decimals up here, back into regular numbers, steep numbers, so high numbers up in this part of the graph. So A changes the steepness of the graph with fractions over on this side, negative numbers down the bottom. Okay. Moving on to C, C moves our graph sideways. So as C gets negative, we're going all the way to the left, and you can see the graph just taking a walk to the left. Now we're going back, we're walking to the right, and coming back again to the left. So the C moves the graph horizontally, no matter where it is. Now the D moves it vertically, moves it up and down the axis. So up, down, and changes the horizontal asymptote. So horizontal asymptote in there. Let's use these ideas to pull apart an equation and see what we think it looks like. So we've got the C is 4, and that means it's going to move to the left 4 units. The minus 1 tells us it's going to move down by 1 unit, and the 2 tells us how steep it's going to be. So we have a graph that's a steepness of 2. It's going to be 4 units to the left, down 1 unit on the axes, and it looks like an exponential graph. Okay, let's try another one. Y equals 3x plus 2 minus 4. So we've got the C is 2, and the C moves us left or right. So in this case we're going left 2 units. Negative 4 moves us down. 3 means we're a little bit steeper than the 2 graph. So if we drew it, and that was the 2, then 3 would be higher. Okay, one more. We've got 5x minus 3 plus 1. Okay, looking at C again. The -3 tells us we're moving horizontally to the right by 3 units. The +1 means we're moving up 1 unit, and the 5 means we're much steeper than the 3 or the 2. And of course, we've got to talk about our horizontal asymptotes, which we can tell by the value of d. So the asymptote for the first graph is y equals to 1, or -1. The asymptote for the second is y equals to -4. And for the third, y equals to +1. There's just 2 more examples that we'll look at before we finish up this video. We've got y equals 1/2 x plus 1 minus 1. So looking at the half first of all, the half is the a value, which is the steepness of the graph. Now because it's a half, it starts in the left-hand side of the quadrants, which means it's a decreasing function. The -1 says down 1 unit, the asymptote is y equals -1, and the x plus 1 moves it left 1 unit. And just one more graph that we haven't done, y equals -2 to the power of x. So there's no C and no D, which means no horizontal and no vertical translation, movement. But the negative does make the graph reflect. So it goes upside down. And that's it.